Welcome. This is Britt Headland, and I'm going to talk to you today about chaparral schools and FERPA. So, what is FERPA? It is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act from the Department of Education. FERPA is a federal law that protects the privacy of student education records maintained by or on behalf of, like by a third party, educational agencies or institutions. And that's from the U.S. Department of Education. All public schools, elementary, secondary, and post secondary, that receive funding from the U.S. Department of Education have to abide by FERPA. So, FERPA provides basically, it is protecting students' records. It provides the right of parents to their students' records. So, the parents get access to their student records until the student turns 18 or enrolls in post secondary education. It gives the right to deny access to school records to others outside of the school. So, like testing information or surveys, parents can deny that their students participate. Parents may ask the school to make corrections to school records according to FERPA. FERPA allows the parent to opt their student out of military recruitment. And also, it gives them the right to opt out of giving out directory information of students. So, we'll talk about directory information in just a minute, but just remember that parents can opt out of that for their students. So, who can access student records? Parents, first and foremost, students who are 18 or older or enrolled in a post secondary school, school officials like teachers, administrators, school nurse, if they have need to the records. Like just any random teacher can't come look at student records, but a teacher or administrator that is working with the student or has a need can. If the student is transferring to another school, their records can be transferred to the new school. Parents have to be let known that the records have been transferred, and they have to be offered a copy of the records as well. State educational agencies, SEAs, can send scores on state assessments to schools where a student wants to attend. So, like our high school registrar can resend ACT scores or all scores to colleges that students want to attend. Also, organizations doing research to develop or evaluate tests or improve education can have access to student records as well. When it comes to surveillance, I know that we have some surveillance around, so I wanted to talk to you about that a little bit. The Fourth Amendment prohibits governmental entities such as public schools from conducting unreasonable searches. So, surveillance is kind of tricky. Legal searches that include public places like highway or hallways, parking lots, and classrooms are would not be considered unreasonable searches, but bathrooms and locker rooms would be an invasion of privacy. According to FERPA, the images from surveillance cameras would be protected under FERPA if the video is maintained by the school and is directly related to a student. So if we have like our sheriff's department keep videos then of our school because we have an SRO on campus, if they're the ones in charge of the surveillance videos, then FERPA does not cover that. Only the videos that we maintain in our school are covered by FERPA. The Electronic Communications Privacy Act prohibits the intentional interception of any oral communication except where one party to the conversation has consented to the recording. So you have to if you record a student, you have to let them know, or their parents know probably, that they're getting recorded. And a lot of states, most states now require all parties to consent. So if you're having a meeting with a student and a parent, you need to let them know that you're recording it if you want to do that. let's see, examples of this would be surveillance maintained by law enforcement is not considered confidential. Student activities that are open to the public, like basketball games, you know, things that happen on campus that are like everybody comes to, those are not confidential. But parents do have access to their student only surveillance records. So, how this affects you in your classroom is I just want to say be careful. Okay. When it comes to student records, be careful. Destroy the records that you don't need any longer. Like once a student graduates and they're no longer part of your classroom or school, you need to destroy them and you need to destroy them properly. And we have ways to do that correctly. We need to research vendors before we use them to ensure that they are FERPA compliant. And just a heads up, anything that's a free app or website is probably selling the data they are getting to third party vendors. So be very careful when it comes to free apps. Never deny parents or eligible students who are 18, their records. Be careful whom you talk to about student concerns and records. If you see a fight in the hallway, you can absolutely tell someone about, or tell the proper people about that. But if that has been documented and you know about the fight through documentation, you may not talk about it because that's protected information. Watch closely what you post on social media because one wrong post can go to thousands and thousands of people. So be careful what you post. Be mindful. Understand the difference between directory information and educational records. And we're going to get to that in 1 second. And bottom line, if you're unsure, ask. Don't assume anything. Ask. So some terms. Directory information, you've heard me say that before. This is information that is basic school information. It's not harmful. It has been designated in our student handbook what we include as directory information, and directory information can be disclosed without consent. So, some examples of that would be student's name, address, phone number, date of birth, the activities and sports they are a part of, dates of attendance, email, degrees, photographs, grade level, enrollment status. That's all considered basic directory information and it can be disclosed without consent. However, education records, those are records that are directly related to the student and maintained by the school or a third party vendor, like for storage. These cannot be disclosed without parental consent. So, things like grades, health records maintained by the school, disciplinary records, progress reports, testing results, GPA, attendance records, that all of those things may not be disclosed without parental consent. So you have directory information, which is general, basic information, can be disclosed, but then you have education records that's more directly related and may not be disclosed without consent. A few other terms, personally identifiable information. This is important to know. This is student information that could allow someone else to identify the student. So if that's something that is included in directory information, then it can be disclosed. But if it's a record, then no. FPCO is the Family Policy Compliance Office that enforces FERPA. An eligible student is a student who is at least 18 and attends a post-secondary institution. So a student that is an eligible student has all full access to his records, his or her records. And then FERPA, I just put that on there again, Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, which protects student education records. These are my references. And again, I would say to you, bottom line is if you have a question about student records or student information, be safe and ask. Don't just assume. Thank you.